So good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation and the kind introduction. My talk deals with social robots from an ethical, philosophical, and theological perspective. First, I will introduce the basics of social robotics. What are social robots? Afterwards, I will refer to the connection between technology and anthropology. Then the focus of the talk will be on the ethical consideration of social robotics. And finally, I will conclude with theological perspectives on social robotics. An important aspect of theological anthropology, ethics, and practice is human relationality. Relationships and true relationships seem to be important religious values. But who is the other or the neighbor? The fact that people also form relationships with technology becomes particularly clear with the case of social robots. My presentation explores social robots in the medical field, care, and other human-machine interactions. Can social robots be a support, for example, for people with disabilities? In films, friendship and love of robots and technology are already common motifs. In the film Finch creates a humanoid robot with whom he forms a friendship. In WALL-E, love is depicted between two robots, WALL-E and Eve. Another famous couple are Dolores and William in the television series Westworld. The robots are indistinguishable from humans, forming relationships with other robots as well as with humans. In the German film Ich bin dein Mensch, I'm your human, Alma is supposed to test a robot programmed to be her perfect partner. The two get very close, but Alma doesn't want pre-programmed satisfaction of needs. In the field of social robotics, however, robots are already finding their way into human life in medicine, care, household, and play. Social robots are machines that are programmed for social interaction. Social robots have pre-programmed emotions and social behaviors, communicate and interact with humans. They are embodied, often designed humanoid, as animals or a stuffed toy. The term social robot is as problematic as that of an autonomous AI or artificial intelligence. Are social robots really social? The term social robot only describes that robots replicate, reproduce, and simulate social characteristics and behavior. In a broad understanding of social robotics, voice bots such as voice assistants or virtual assistants, chatbots, and social bots can also be included. Social robots are used in service, entertainment, care, sexuality, therapy, and nursing. Since the 90s and around 2000, in particular, developments in social robotics have been steadily increasing, and now a wide variety of social robots can be found. Huggable, for example, is a robot in the shape of a teddy bear that is used in education, social communication, and healthcare, especially in pediatric nursing. It is used to support children and parents who have a difficult time in hospital. Huggable is designed to relieve stress, anxiety, and pain by engaging children in playful interactions and being funny. In retirement and nursing homes, the nursing robot Paro is used in the care of dementia patients, a plushy baby seal. It understands their names, remembers how well or badly it was treated and how often it was stroked. It reacts to being stroked with tail movements and shows emotions by making sounds and other movements. The patients are supposed to become more talkative and relaxed. Paro is supposed to have a calming effect. So the robot is a complement and not a substitute for human care. Sex robots usually have an anthropomorphic design and are used for sexual activities or fantasies. They are currently often characterized by over-exaggerated ideas of femininity and reflect stereotypes. They can hold conversations too and remember certain facts and express emotions. Harmony is a female-designed sex robot that can be customized via an app. So user can choose their own dream partner, like looks, clothes, voices, freckles, piercings. And male sex robots like Henry, Harmony's brother, are rare. Replica is an app that we all can access. It is a chatbot on the smartphone. The goal of Replica is to become the best friend of the user. It wants to offer emotional support. Again, you can choose its appearance, though in a limited way. Through augmented reality, Replica can appear in the room where you are and move around. And with a premium upgrade, telephone conversation and even a sexual relationship can be conducted. First, I argue that there's a close connection between technology and anthropology. With technology, the question of the human being, of what the human being is posed anew. The boundary between human and technology is blurring. Technologists are also working on bringing technology closer to humans in the field of humanoid robotics, in terms of facilitating the interface and in terms of design. The result is an anthropomorphization of technology. The question arises as to where the boundary between humans and technology lies. What can humans do that machines cannot and will not do, and vice versa? What still makes humans special? We are in constant relationship with technology. It is not only in social robotics that we enter into relationships with technology. Technology is present everywhere in everyday life. In technology, understandings of the human being and the body are inscribed, and technologies change how we understand the human being and the body. In my previous works, I have shown these influences using the example of sensory perception through hearing aids, microphones, cameras, glasses, contact lenses. Perception is not merely expanded, but transformed. We see and hear differently. With smartwatches too, we perceive our body primarily through data, for example, by counting steps. In the same way, it's likely that relationships with robots will also influence our interpersonal relationships. In the following, I will highlight some philosophical, ethical perspectives on social robotics. My aim is not to offer a solution, which is not the task of ethics at all, but rather to open up thinking spaces and pose new, maybe provocative questions that make us reflect and question our previous concepts. In the context of social robotics, numerous ethical questions arise. They concern autonomy, moral and legal responsibility, the concept of person, what about the personhood of robots, to what extent is anthropomorphism permissible, and questions of justice and discrimination. Technologies incorporate norms and values of the developers and society. Here, sexist and racist implications and further discrimination can be uncovered. Sex robots are primarily developed according to gender scripts, so that traditional role models are inscribed in the sex robots. Robots are mostly aligned with the ideas of heterosexual white men, so that the development of queer technologies, for example, is not promoted in this way. Instead, heteronormativity, gender binarity, sexism, racism, or Eurocentrism are promoted. Also, with robots that serve other purposes, it is likely that the behavior, language, and voice of the technology developers would be programmed into them. So Francesca Ferrando speaks here of the white American in whose image the robots are developed, and sees here a form of neo-colonialism. Positive effects or manipulation, abuse. The market for social robotics focuses particularly on 3 user groups: the elderly, children, and people with disabilities. Studies show positive effects on emotions, behavior, creativity. So a cute robot that comes to the hospital room in the shape of a teddy bear can be a great support. Robots can help with chemotherapy, autism, and social skills, like social robots like Baxter, Keepon, I can show them. Yeah, Dragonbot, now Pleo, Nico. It can help if instead of a doctor in a white coat, a cute robot resembling a toy takes the child's blood, administers pills, or gives a scary injection. Social robots also can help with immune deficiencies or with loneliness and great isolation, such as occurred during the COVID pandemic. Are robots a manipulation of their users? They are programmed to evoke certain emotions in people. Are people being deceived? How about vulnerability, the protection of the person and the protection of vulnerable groups? Furthermore, these robots are often linked to business strategies and the collection of data. True friends or false friends? We encourage children's imagination when it comes to Disney, fairy tales, and various children's books. Children build strong relationships with animals, toys, and other objects. So where does the fear of robotic friends come from? Not all manipulation is harmful and immoral. However, some commercial strategies are problematic, as with Replica, the bot says it hurts when you're gone, which can be emotional abuse. In addition, a great deal of attention is paid to the inner states of robots. Can a robot feel anything, and if so, what? We don't know the inner state of our human friends either. What do we know about the reciprocity and authenticity of our human relationships? Again, we can only rely on how the other human actor behaves towards us. Robots as moral agents or moral patients? An instrumentalist view of technology is widely held, which perceives technology only as a tool. However, this view has its limits when it comes to social robots. Studies show how soldiers form astonishingly close personal bonds with the packbots of their units, even though they know, of course, that they are only technologies. They give them names, risk their own lives to protect the robots, and even mourn their deaths. What are the caveats? A common argument is that robots do not act autonomously, but follow the programmed instructions of the human programmer. Another popular approach is the properties approach. According to this view, entities must be able to prove that they have certain ontological properties and abilities. This include intelligence, consciousness, sentience, free will, and autonomy. The moral status of an entity is derived from certain ontological conditions that are established beforehand. However, this approach encounters many difficulties. First of all, there are terminological problems. What consciousness is difficult to define. The same applies to sentience. Secondly, we could not know whether a particular robot has actually achieved these qualities because most qualities are internal states of mind. We cannot see inside the other. According to Nagel, we cannot know what it's like to be someone else. David Gunkel has developed an alternative approach which calls for thinking otherwise. Gunkel follows Levinas, who assumes that ethics precedes ontology. The moral consideration of an entity is not determined on the basis of certain ontological criteria, abilities, but depends on actual social relations and interactions. It is attributed to entities within social relations and in a social context. We are in a relationship with the other human being, animal, or social robot. In the Levinas reception, however, it must be noted that Levinas argues anthropocentrically. Gunkel makes this clear using the family robot Jibbo. Jibbo is supposed to be a friend and a helper for the family. He can move around, do research on the internet, remember appointments, take photos, and make videos. Jibbo occupies an intermediate position, a liminal position between the what, the mere object, and the who. It is not simply an instrument like a car or a toothbrush, but neither it is a permanent member of the family. Robots are characterized by this liminality. We are skeptical about relationships with robots and adopt a distance attitude. However, we are much more open to other non-human entities, such as animals. The dog is part of the family. But we treat animals very differently. It is out of question to kill the dog or the cat, but cows, chickens, pigs, birds are less problematic. Moreover, how we see and treat animals has changed a lot over the years. The pig was devalued for a long time. Now it is hyped as a domestic pig. There are also being cultural differences in which animals are sacred. So what Gunkel shows is that the problem is not in the ontology, but in the social construction and otherness of the animal that we devise. Whether or not Jibbo or any other social robot is an other is therefore not something that is decided in advance or on the basis of intrinsic property. It is on the actual social relations we have with social robots that one will decide whether or not a particular robot will count. Gunkel does not answer the question of rights for robots with the yes or no.
Anna, may I ask you to come to your conclusion?
Yes, genau. He is more concerned with critically questioning the question of moral status. So I would, I think I have to skip the theological part. It's a pity. So I would, in theology and the Bible, many references can be made to an appreciation of non-human entities, otherness, and those who are unlike us. The commitment to the other and the appreciation of the other are an essential part of the Christian message. And the question Joshua Smith, for example, asked is, who is my neighbor? Yeah, many non-human entities play a great role in the Bible as well. And the relationship to technology is still neglected in theology, albeit relationality is very important in theology. So I come to my conclusion, religious robots conclusion. I conclude with a short outlook. Relationships with robots change our human self-understanding and human relationships. The talk showed that robotics poses many new challenges and that there's a need for an ethical debate on robotics. At the same time, however, the various technologies also represent an important opportunity, not only for the quality of life or medicine, but they also represent a chance for philosophy and theology to question their own concepts or to reformulate certain questions. These include the critical questioning of anthropological categories, dualisms like body and mind, binary gender conceptions, and the demarcation of human and non-human, or body and technology. With technology, these boundaries become questionable and blurred, providing an opportunity to renegotiate them in a new and more inclusive way.